So this one I'm going to read out. It is on the 8th of December. So I'm going to read out. I got a dream on the 8th December 2022. I'm going to read it out and trust the Lord will give you, if you need interpretation, please test the words, guys. Test the words, uncomfortable, comfortable, whichever way you feel about them, test the words, bring them to the Lord. Okay, that's what I'm praying for you. Okay, so here we go. On the 8th of December, I had a dream which really affected me for the rest of the day. Abba, in this dream, I was transported to the place that looked like Europe. There, people had a culture of what they call prophetic transportation, whilst amongst the natives in the Americas, they called it spirit traveling. In other places of the world, they would also call it astral traveling. In this city, a chosen person would be transformed. Give me a second. And back. Okay, in the city, a chosen person would be transformed into what they called eternal space, where time did not matter. So one could go back and forth and see how events affected the present, which determines the future in a way. I say in a way because there are future events that they too can change in the present. E.g., for example, Herod using the wise men to find Yeshua, then killing off the young children to get to him. So they worked around those set in stone in events. So Jesus was a set in stone. There was nothing that even Herod could do, whether he used wise men and then later killed people off. There was nothing he could do. He was going to be born, and he is born, nothing. So they try to work around those ones. So the one man comes back, immediately he's given a platform, mics and cameras are on him as he speaks of what he saw and what he thinks should be done for the present to either offset some consequences from the past or to prepare for the future. This man loved attention as I watched him. And I asked someone near me, what is this transportation that only seems to glorify the person? Who sent him to this place? And why isn't he speaking about Jesus? This lady looked at me and said, that surely does exist, because how did I get here? I told her that I was led here by Holy Spirit, who is leading this man. As we were talking, another man who was desperate for fame and fortune decided that it was his turn to go for this prophetic transportation kind of capsule because he wanted what this man had. As he was moving towards the capsule, which was in the corner, I noticed that he was in complete darkness. That thick darkness was in him. This looked so bad that he made the first guy look even better. As he was walking towards what they called the capsule of transportation, the previous guy came to stop him because he thought this guy would interrupt his time, his show, and mess up his money, as the transportation time elapses were too short. As they were talking and I was trying to listen and go where this prophetic transportation device capsule was, this lady kept coming after me asking how I was transported because I wasn't from there. She decided to call other people to show them that there are other prophetic travelers. And as she went on, she reminded me of Paul. As she went on, it reminded me of Paul having to deal with the girl that had a familiar spirit. To be honest, the whole situation looked like that. People profiting off familiar spirits for fame and fortune, but then using a Christian hint to it. I decided to leave this place because she was gathering a crowd, and the more I told her about Jesus, the more she believed their way was the reason I was there. And I wasn't having that. As I was leaving, Holy Spirit takes me by the Spirit again, and he allows me, he shows me what the community was doing to their children. The children were being dedicated to the prophetic transportation by doing ritual on babies. I saw a lady place a small section of sage on the chest of her child. One lady didn't want to do this. She felt in her heart that the child should choose if he or she wanted to do this without being forced. Adonai Ruach, that's Holy Spirit, showed me a tool that we're using. It looked like they were using it to they were using some kind of hammer to hammer some sort of screw in the ground. The tool looked like an old rig, the top bit hammering on the screw, like those oil rigs that, yeah, they looked like an oil rig and it was hammering on the screw. I still remember this. They put the sage under that and then placed on the chest of the little babe. I prayed for the people, and while I was doing that, the lady earlier saw me there with the crowd still screaming, asking how I transported there. Holy Spirit told me to get into there was a little shuttle. It says, get into the shuttle, and I drove off. I did just that, though I'd never really driven a small shuttle before. They hadn't seen me before, so they screamed again. And okay, so we drove off until we got into a big intersection. There was a queue, and it was the three-way. I needed to take a right as gates were open for me to go through, but a truck came and blocked the whole road off. Cars behind me started turning back, but I knew somehow they were going to have to go. Listen, they were going to have to go. Give me a sec. Through Arabia, which was the long way around, and I wanted to do that as the gate was just there. I stood there for a bit waiting. Then I saw 3 cars in front of me overtaking standing cars to try and overtake the truck to get where they wanted to go, which was the same way as me. I decided to do the same thing. As I turned around the front of the truck, I ended up in a ditch, and in the ditch there were horses. They tried to stop the shuttle, but I got out quickly. Then another horse charged for me. As it did that, I stood at the edge of the ditch to see what was on the side, and I saw that it was at the drop. It was the drop at the ditch of the mountain. So I waited as the horse charged, and when it was close enough, I ducked, it went out, and drove all the way down. I got in the car, revved until I got out, drove to the truck, and threw around the truck into the gates. I woke up. I woke up after that. So now this is the interpretation. As I was typing this, I realized I should have waited on your instructions, Abba. I'm sure I knew going through Arabia was not the plan, but you really could have moved the destruction. So there was some form of also relying on my own understanding in the end before I woke up, but he gave me grace and mercy. So I want to share about false prophecies, false prophets. I know, guys, I keep talking about it. We need to learn how to test the word. I'm just bringing to you that we need to learn how to test the word, because as much as the sort of kind of prophetic transportation, people that are trying to say they're the ones that have got history in their hands, they're the ones that have got countries in their hands, economies in their hands. That's not true. They've got no lives in their hands. What they can do may be influence by saying a few things, sabotaging a few things, but whether the people are human, where they live, that is not up to them. That is all up to the Lord. So I would ask you in this time in the season to really sit with the Lord and say, okay, Father, there's many mics, there's many people with mics, everybody's talking. What voice, please? I would like to listen to your voice, because that is the voice that speaks over everything. That's the voice that even counts over my voice. You see what I'm saying? Like, even if you're listening now, if you're not listening from Holy Spirit, the things I say to you are going to sound crazy. If you're not reading your word and you don't know the voice of the Lord, you don't know how to discern spirits, some of this stuff is going to sound way out there, but the people that can, they know exactly what I'm talking about. So I would suggest, whether because the Lord says even in the last days that the elect would even be tricked if that were possible. That means there's times where we even slack, we don't have that oil. Remember the 10 virgins, 5 without oil, 5 with oil. So even the elect, that those were 10 virgins that were elected, but 5 out of that 10 still didn't make it. That means we have to stand up, stay watchful, look at what you're listening to. You have to pay attention to that and what you're watching as well. But anyways, I bless you until the next video. Love you loads. Bye.